It was with a vibrant spirit and an unwavering passion for the LPGA, the game of golf, came to know Louise Suggs. Growing up in Atlanta, Georgia, Suggs learned how to play the game at 10 years of age. She grew up in a sports family, her father having played professional baseball, and later went on to build golf courses. In an interview with Golf Week in 2012, Louise gives insight on the interactions she had with her competition.
The first tournament I played in was at Georgia State, and I was 14 years old, and it was at Druid Hills in Atlanta. And that night, I went home, and I was practically in tears. And I qualified. I got in the championship flight. I was the last one in the championship flight, shot 92. And Dad said, "What's the matter with you?" And I said, "Well, they got a thing on there called a sand trap." And I'd never seen one before because Dad didn't have any bunkers on his course, thinking that it would keep the flow, public golf course, so forth. Well, anyway, he built me a sandbox and put it behind a granite boulder and said, "Now get over it." And so that was my experience of learning. And the most lofted club I had was a 7-iron. So I learned to get out of bunkers originally with a 7-iron, but Joanne Carner, Meg Mallon, Kari Webb, and Beth Daniel, and I were members of Pine Tree. It just so happened one day we were all out on the practice tee. And I made some wisecrack. I said, "I'll bet you $1 I can get closer in this practice bunker, from this practice bunker to that pin, than you all can with wedges when I'll use my 7-iron. Of course, they jumped on me like a fleas on a hound dog. And of course, being the senior, "Go right ahead, Louise." Well, I stoned it like this, about a foot away. Well, they didn't come close, even. "Well, we got to have a playoff." I said, "No," I just said. So I took their money and ran. So I made them pay me.
She quickly rose in the ranks, capturing 5 of the world's top amateur titles during the first few years of her amateur career. In 1941, just 2 weeks after graduating at the top of her class in high school, Louise won the Georgia State Amateur. That victory catapulted her great amateur career, which lasted from 1940 until 1948. During that time, she won 15 events, including 3 majors, despite 3 years being missed due to World War II. She was a competitor, and in 1948, she went to Great Britain and played in the Ladies British Amateur and won. She had won every major competition in amateur play, so in 1949, she signed with William McGregor and turned pro. From the very beginning, she set her trademark, the hat, and wore it when she won the first Southern Amateur. That trend would later set the style for future generations. In 1949, she embarked on her career as a professional. In her rookie year, she won the Women's U.S. Open and beat Babe Zaharias by a massive 14 strokes. This was a record lead that had never been beaten in women's golf and has only been topped by Tiger Woods in the year 2000. Just 2 years later, the Women's Professional Golf Association folded, so Louise and 12 other of her playing competitors came together and formed the LPGA, the Ladies Professional Golf Association, with the financial backing of Wilson Sporting Goods, Spalding, and McGregor. The LPGA was a huge part of Louise's life, and she took great pride in becoming one of the world's greatest players. Suggs once said, "We figured if we maybe could get some tournaments together, we could at least pick up a little pocket change. We were so dumb that we didn't know we couldn't succeed. We survived and succeeded despite ourselves." Suggs would become one of the game's greatest players, winning 61 times on tour, including 11 major championships. In 1957, she became the first to complete the career Grand Slam, winning the Women's Western Open, the U.S. Women's Open, the Title Holders Championship, and the LPGA Championship all in the same year. Louise was a no-nonsense individual, fierce competitor, and had a distinct swing. Ben Hogan, one of the greatest players in the history of men's golf, once said after watching Suggs swing that her swing combined all the desirable elements of efficiency, timing, and coordination. Her competition included Alice Bauer, Patty Berg, Betty Danoff, and most notably, Babe Zaharia. The Babe wasn't a golfer, Louise told an interviewer some years back. She was a marketer. And when someone once asked her about how far Zaharias drove the ball, Louise said, "She had that cheap-ass Texas hook and would roll it out there on hard, baked fairways. On a wet course, I'd fly it by her all day." All day. Louise's soft spot for helping others was often masked by her grit and dry sense of humor. Throughout her career on the LPGA Tour, Louise worked with a charity called Suggs Superstar, that raised funds for underprivileged children to keep them in school. If they stayed in school and did well, they would be offered scholarships to continue their education in college. Women's golf in the 1940s was far from being as popular as the men's games. Often, Suggs and her other founding members would have to call the newspaper themselves after tournaments to submit their final scores in an effort to gain publicity. One such event, however, gained her respect of the golfing world, both men's and women's. Suggs always contended that the women could beat men with their short games. In 1957, 26 years before Billie Jean King founded the Women's Tennis Association and won her match against Bobby Riggs, Louise had a chance to prove it when she and other women played against 12 male professionals in a 54-hole tournament over a par 3 course in Palm Beach, Florida. Playing 36 holes a day, Louise wound up winning. Recounting that event in an interview in 2003 with the Associated Press, Suggs explained that Sam Snead was irritated that he had finished behind a woman and was needling her. Suggs told him, "I don't know what the hell you're bitching about. You weren't even second." She said Snead stormed off to the parking lot and peeled out. "It was the most perfect squelch I ever heard. He must have burned a quarter-inch of rubber," Suggs said. Her courage to stand up for women's golf continued even after her career ended. In 2007, when the Ricoh Women's British Open became the first women's professional tournament played on the old course at St. Andrews, Louise would sit in the bay window of the big room in the then male-only clubhouse, lean on her cane, and watch the women tee off. This was her way of saying to the Royal and Ancient Golf Club, "It's about time." When asked what the strongest part of her game was, Louise replied, "When I got someone down, I put my foot on their throat." There was not a trace of a smile. It was just Louise speaking the truth, as she always did. When interviewed for a section for the Golf World, Louise was asked about men who tried to degenerate the LPGA by saying the players were all lesbians. Louise responded by saying, "Any guy who worries that much about lesbians probably is hiding some things he doesn't want to talk about." She was also asked how she wanted to be remembered. Louise thought for a bit, then said, "I don't want to be remembered as a tough old broad." But that's exactly who Louise was, a tough old broad. She was also one of the greatest ever to play the women's game, and she never stopped fighting for the LPGA. "It never dawned on any of us that it would wind up like it is now," Suggs said of the modern LPGA. "Not too much people in the world can say that they helped start something that has been successful. When I look at the headquarters in Daytona Beach, when we worked out of the trunks of cars, it boggles my mind." In 1962, in honor of Suggs, the Rolex Rookie of the Year award is awarded the first year player on the LPGA Tour who scores highest in a points competition where points are awarded based on how a player finishes in an event. Louise enjoyed a remarkable career and incredible life. She was the first female inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame in 1951 and was the first woman to be inducted into the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame in 1966. She was also one of the first females to be elected into membership in a 260-year-old Royal and Ancient Golf Club in St. Andrews, Scotland. These three events speak volumes about the impact that Louise Suggs had on the world of golf, especially women's golf. A steady presence at LPGA events, her support of women's golf has never wavered, and Suggs never lost her sharp tongue. She would frequently tell younger players at the LPGA Tour, "This is my baby. Don't screw it up." She was at the LPGA Awards dinner in 2007 where Angela Park won the Louise Suggs Rookie of the Year award by earning over $900,000 that year, compared to Suggs' career earnings, which stood at just under $200,000. "I wish like hell I could have played for this kind of money," Suggs said, "but if not for me, they wouldn't be playing for it either."